What is up, Trinity Youth? Josh back here again. Hey, man, again, I know I said this last time. I just wish we were in person. This stinks, but we'll see what happens. Maybe in the future. Well, definitely in the future. Just we don't know when. But miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. Just a little of encouragement tonight. I'm gonna do a quick message, and then you guys hopefully in your huddles can talk about it. But just a little bit of encouragement. Didn't realize this, but then we sat down and we started to like put the numbers together from different huddles that we're hearing about and what's going on. There's like 85 of you right now this week that are getting together in huddles. That was like 1 week, but like 85 different people in Trinity Youth that are getting in huddles. So even though we can't meet together as a big group and we're not going to church on Sundays, we're still doing this thing. We're still making it happen. You guys are still meeting together, and I was so encouraged by that. And so I hope you guys are too. Even if you're just one huddle and you're together, just to know that there's a bunch of other huddles going on, and there's a lot of us that are still doing this. So I was super encouraged by that. Hey, I'm going to try to keep this a little bit short today, but I want to talk to you. We're in our 4th week, and maybe your huddle hasn't done all 4 weeks. That's fine. No big deal. But this is our 4th week of the community series, and it's our last week actually of this. As we kick off huddles, we wanted to talk about what does it look like within community to live and breathe and how do we interact, and what do we want this huddle, this community to be all about? What do we want it to be all about? And how are we going to function in it? Because this is the most important thing we do. Look at the faces sitting around in a circle around you right now, and it's within this community that is safe for us to be ourselves, to encourage each other, to laugh with each other, to cry with each other, to do all that together. It's in that community that we feel is where life change with God and with each other happen. And so, this is so important. So I'm glad you guys are doing this. I hope you're enjoying your time as a huddle, and we're glad to be back in. Today I want to talk about forgiveness, the idea of what does it look like for us to forgive. And in the Christian faith, following Jesus, the idea, the concept, the practice of forgiveness is like central, not only to the whole idea of God forgiving our sins, which is, it's like that is the Christian, like that is our story, right? That's the whole thing, is that Jesus forgave through what he did on the cross. Our sins have been forgiven by God. So yes, forgiveness is a huge central thing to the whole Christian faith. But beyond just even that, what does it look like for you and me to live out this idea to be people that forgive, to be people that's a practice and a part of who we are within community, within family, within people that maybe have wrong, like all of these different circles that we bump and rub shoulders with people. How do we be a people that forgive? And there's so many stories in the Bible, and today I'm going to look at one of them, a story about forgiveness. But before I do that, I was thinking about it, and I was in high school, and I remember I had a bunch of friends, a bunch of guys. We always hung out together, and they were my buddies. And we had this one friend who, unfortunately, just tragically, when he was in middle school, his mom passed away, and I remember, that being really hard for a lot of us because we were so close as a group of friends, and it was tough. But then fast forward like 4 years later, and he lived with his 2 older sisters. They were older and kind of young adults, and so the 3 of them lived together in a house. And I remember one time one of his sisters did something. They got in an argument, and something happened. I don't remember all the details, but I just remember this being so, the impression of this being so imprinted on me as a young 17, 18-year-old boy trying to become a man. Failing, but trying to. I remember they got into an argument. Him and his sister got into an argument, and something had happened. And he came to me, and he was like, or it didn't come to me, but just in our group we were talking. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna forgive her. I'm not gonna talk to her. Like, I'm done. It's over. I'm cutting it off." He lived with her, cutting it off. I remember there went a long period of time, not days, not hours, not weeks, months, maybe even over a year, that him and his sister, who like they were so close, didn't talk. Like they did not talk. And I remember him saying like, I cannot forgive her. And I've just been thinking about that. Like the power of forgiveness is something that can be really powerful for us, but then also can be hold these when we're not willing to forgive. It can actually do a lot of harm and hurt to us and people that we love. Okay, I'm going to read this story. And then, like I said, we're not going to go too long here. So I want to read this story out of Matthew 18. And this is a parable Jesus is telling after Peter asked him an important question. And then we can talk about it. So this is Matthew 18:21 through 35. I'm going to read from the Message version today. So this is from the Message. So here we go. It says, at that point, Peter got up the nerve. Can we just give Peter some credit here, man? Like, it's got to be hard to ask Jesus questions. Like, when it says it got up the nerve to ask, I relate to you, Peter. I would be so nervous to ask Jesus a question too. Like, yo, Jesus. So, okay, he finally got up the nerve to ask, and he said, Master, how many times do I forgive a brother or sister who hurts me? 7? That I'm reading still. 7? Because that was more than typically it was like you forgave a few times, but after that it was not expected that you would continue to forgive somebody. So by Peter even saying 7, he's like, Jesus, look, I'm going above and beyond what is normally expected, right? Like I'm doing more than what I should do. So should I forgive 7 times? And this is how Jesus replies. Jesus replied, 7? Hardly. Try 70 times 7. For those of you that aren't quick at math, that's 490 times. I'm going to stop right there, and then I'm going to read the story because I want to be really clear. Yes, it is 490 times. Jesus did not mean literally. He wasn't worried about the details of that. The point wasn't keep a little track book. Like, dude, you're up to 380, man. You're really running low. You've only got 110 more times of forgiveness. That's not what it was. The point was, hey, there's actually not forgiveness isn't something that you stop doing. It is an ongoing, continuous thing that you have to continually come back and forgive people around you if they continue to hurt you. I'll get to what that looks like later. Okay, so then Jesus says this. He tells the story. He says, the kingdom of God is like a king who decided to square accounts with his servants. As he got underway, one servant was brought before him who had run up a debt of $100,000. He couldn't pay up, so the king ordered the man, along with his wife, children, and goods, to be auctioned off at the slave market. The poor wretch threw himself at the king's feet and begged, give me a chance and I'll pay it all back. Touched by his plea, the king let him off, erasing his debt. So that servant owed what it said was $100,000. Again, the exact amount isn't important, but as you look back and you in today's money, in today's economy, you're talking like $6 billion. Like he owes him $6 billion. The point of that is that's an amount that cannot be paid back. The king let him off and erased his debt. The servant was no sooner out of the room when he came upon one of his fellow servants who owed him $10. He seized him by the throat and demanded, pay up now. He just got $6 billion. Well, in this story, $100,000 let off, forgiven, and this guy owes him 10, and he's like, dude. And the poor wretch threw himself down. Same exact thing that guy did. He threw himself down and he begged and he said, give me a chance and I'll pay it all back. But he wouldn't do it. He had him arrested and put in jail until the debt was paid. When the other servants saw this going on, they were outraged and brought a detailed report to the king. I can only imagine. You get a $100,000 debt forgiven and then somebody owes you $10 and you're like, to jail. Like, what? The king summoned the man and said, you evil servant, I forgave your entire debt and you begged me for mercy. Shouldn't you be compelled to be merciful to your fellow servant who asked for mercy? The king was furious and put the screws to the man until he paid back the entire debt. And that's exactly what my Father in heaven is going to do to each one of you who doesn't forgive unconditionally anyone who asks for mercy. So here's what the kingdom of heaven is like, is that God is going to forgive some things that are unforgivable, or that are, he's going to forgive you for debts that are unpayable. You cannot pay these debts back, but he's going to forgive that in his mercy. He's going to forgive that. That's what he does through his son, Jesus. He forgives us of our debts, right? But then he says, but now go, like that whole concept of pay it forward. Although when you forgive someone, you're never going to be able to forgive the debt that you forgive anyone else is never going to be the debt that I forgave you, which I gave you life. You know, I offer you life and life to the full, and you have to forgive other people for things that are going to be much, much smaller, more minor. He says, and if you can't show mercy, if you can't forgive those around you that have hurt you, that have wronged you, that have not paid back a debt, that owe you something, if you can't forgive them, God's going to say, well, then you have to pay back your debt. It doesn't exactly work like that exact same. That's not exactly the way that that God operates, to where it's like if you can't forgive somebody, he's going to take back like salvation or anything like that. The point is, God has forgiven us so much. And now we are called to be people that forgive others that hurt us, wrong us, say nasty things about us, go behind our backs. Now, let's talk real quick because I want to end here. And I want to stop talking, and I want you guys to talk about this idea in your groups about forgiveness and about how do we forgive, who do we forgive, what do we forgive. But here's the deal. Forgiving somebody doesn't mean so let's say I just want to give a real quick example, like let's say there's somebody at school that just continuously like berates you and insults you and makes fun of you and says things about you that are so like deep, like hurtful on a really deep level. When we say that you're supposed to forgive them, what we're not saying is, okay, just forgive them and let them keep going. Like just forgive them and, go back the next day. And if they do it again, well, forgive them again. 70 times 7, just keep, it's not like forgive and just get trampled on. But in our hearts, we need to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to hold that. Like, I'm not going to hold that bitterness that causes, that's going to be like within me because of my inability to forgive you. I'll forgive you. I'm going to remember that. I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to remember, and I'm going to avoid you. I'm not going to go around you. I'm not going to allow you to continue to do that to me, but I'm not going to let anger be a part of, live inside of me and just make me become this bitter person. But I am going to, yeah, you can be forgiven, but I'm going to avoid you. Like, that's an example of what you could do. And that is what we're called to do, you guys, is be a people to forgive. Because if you read through this and you see so much, it's that God has forgiven us so much. And Jesus, he continues to come back to this. Forgive others as I have forgiven you. We say it every time we say the Lord's Prayer. You must forgive others. We must be people of mercy. So this is who we are. This is what we get to do, is we get to be people of mercy and forgive. And so that's my hope right now for you guys. My hope is that we would be a people that forgive, that we would be a people that can do that. Because I was thinking about it. Who is it that suffers when we refuse to forgive? And for my friend, when he wouldn't forgive his sister, I just thought about, man, what did you guys miss out on because of the unwillingness to forgive? What kind of a relationship? What did you miss out on being like as brother and sister when you didn't forgive her? Yeah. When we refuse to forgive people, sometimes it hurts us more than it hurts them. And so my hope and prayer for each of you guys, and I hope that you guys just keep talking about this in your huddle right now, and that it's a good discussion. But here's the hope and the prayer is God, would you help me to learn how to forgive, even even just a fraction of the way that you have forgiven us, God. That's who we're called to be, you guys, and let's do that in this community, within our huddles. Let's do it. Let's be a people that forgive. Let's forgive each other, love each other, encourage each other, and then go do likewise out in our community, in our schools, in our families. So that's forgiveness. Matthew 18. Hope you guys have a great huddle discussion. Miss you guys. So glad you're still doing huddles, and we'll talk soon. We'll see you soon. May we be a people that forgive and forgive well. All right. See you guys. Love you.